Are you excited? The psalmist says, I was glad when they said, let us go to the house of the Lord. All right, because in his presence there is fullness of joy, at his right hand. Now, before I go into the teaching, I would like to encourage us that whenever you come to service, don't be an onlooker, don't be a spectator. When we're worshiping, we're not singing a special number, okay? Especially for you. Are you people hearing what I'm saying? It's not a special number. I don't expect anybody to just stand and be looking. No, that's not how to worship God. You must be conscious that you're before the King and that you're before God. And that's one of the reasons, even if it's a song that you don't know, that's the reason why they are projecting the words so that you can follow. Are you with me? So, we must all be conscious of that. Praise the Lord. We must all be conscious of that, okay? We're going to be continuing with our teaching, the new series, The Splendor of the Will of God. In other words, the beauty of the will of God. And in other words, you can also call it the glory of the will of God. You know, there is a deception that Satan wants us to look at the will of God as a disadvantage. In fact, most times, Satan wants to present God as a killjoy. And he started that even in the Garden of Eden. That was where he started that kind of gimmicks. Is that God told man, you can eat of all the trees in the garden. And then he said, there is only one tree that you are not to eat of. The tree of good and what? And evil. And you realize that when Satan, through the serpent, paid the visit to the woman and said, had God said? So the woman now said, God said we shouldn't even touch it. And that was, God never said they shouldn't touch it. God only said they shouldn't eat. And then you realize that Satan tried to make them to think that there is something that God is keeping from them. And which is always what Satan wants us to believe, that when God gives us his position on a matter, that there is something he wants to deprive us of. There is something he's trying to rob us of. So we tend to see God as a killjoy, somebody who lies, somebody who doesn't want us to, like if God is asking you not to revenge, not to bear grudges, it appears that is making you to be like a weakling. Is it? Is it? Okay. Now, because when we're talking about the will of God is all-encompassing. Break into that, because don't just zero your mind that when we're talking about the will of God, we're only talking about God is asking somebody to go and be a full-time minister. That is, the will of God is broader than that. It's far bigger than that. But I want to take it, build gradually, okay? Now, last Sunday I did introduction. Let me just go ahead. And before we do that, let's celebrate and welcome our online viewers, online worshipers. Come on, put your hands together for them wherever they are. Now, I try to define to us what the will of God is. So I took time, much of that today. So please just check. That time I took my time, reading out several things. But let me just break it down, just say it in a nutshell. When we're talking about the will of God, we're talking about the program of God. We're talking about the desire of God. When we talk about the will of God, we're talking about his plans, his intentions.